Bam! What's up with the squad? Welcome back to Cess Talk Sports, where we keep it real, raw, and all the way righteous. Today's a special pull-up. We're collaborating once again with our fam over at BeWise PoliSports to break down the politics, race, and economics moving the game behind the scenes, especially when it comes to black women holding it down in sports. It's your favorite auntie with Uncle Tennessee Cess. I'm holding down the mic, and you already know I can't get into this real combo without my partner in truth, the one and only Political Lil. What's good, Lil?
All right, what's up, fam? What's up, Auntie Cess? It's a whole lot of mess. That's what's good. But hey, we're here to set it straight. This conversation today, it's about to ruffle some feathers, but it's one that needs to be had.
Facts. Let's look at the WNBA. It just dropped this new media broadcast schedule. Let me tell y'all what's happening. Caitlin Clark, the reigning rookie of the year, who, mind you, got bounced in the first round of the playoffs somehow, has 41 of her 44 games on national television this season. How?
Meanwhile, the reigning WNBA champions, the New York Liberty, and the Las Vegas Aces, led by three-time and reigning MVP Aja Wilson, they don't get that kind of coverage. And what about the runner-ups, Minnesota Lynx, home of the Defensive Player of the Year? Oh, and let's not forget Angel Reese, who was the runner-up to the Rookie of the Year voting last season. Double-double queen, holding the single-season record in average rebounds per game with the Chicago Sky. Matter of fact, only Shine Reese is getting his so-called privilege of playing Caitlin Clark 5 times. These black players are only getting the shine they are creating through their own efforts. They are barely getting any kind of shine from the league.
Right. Make it make sense. How does the WNBA justify pushing one player this hard when 70% of the league is black? Do you mean to tell me there's no space to equally market all of these amazing players? Something ain't adding up. The math ain't mathing.
Not adding up at all. And this ain't just about basketball. It's about race, media, manipulation, and economic exploitation. This is how structural discrimination works in real time, in front of our eyes, and they expect us not to notice. I figure they must have thought we weren't paying attention, but we're here to break it all down today. So let's ask some real questions. Is this blatant racial discrimination? How does the media control the public perception of who is worthy of attention and sponsors? Should the black players in the WNBA consider a class action lawsuit against the league for marketing disparities and lost financial opportunities? And best believe we got receipts. We're going to tap into some powerful books today. Brainwash by Tom Burrell, How Media Shapes Anti-Black Narratives. Make-Believe Media, How Propaganda in Sports is Used to Elevate Certain Figures. And then Death of a Dark Nation, breaking down the systemic oppression of black professional athletes, including athletes.
So grab your popcorn or your snacks, whatever it is, get your pen and paper out so you can take some notes, and let's get locked in because the conversation is about to get real. Let's roll. All right, fam. So let's get into the WNBA's marketing strategy and how the media plays a role in who gets pushed to the forefront and who gets ignored. We already know that the game ain't fair, but today we're breaking it down piece by piece. Political Lil, let's start with who's actually getting the most promotional love in this game.
Listen, Auntie Cess, if you've been paying attention, you already know the WNBA is putting all its chips behind Caitlin Clark. They've decided she's the face of the league, even though she hasn't won a single WNBA championship, MVP award, or Defensive Player of the Year. Not even close. Meanwhile, Aja Wilson, a 3-time MVP, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and 2-time league champion, is barely getting a fraction of the same national coverage.
And y'all, it definitely don't stop there. Let's talk about Angel Reese, second in Rookie of the Year voting and already one of the biggest stars in the dub. And not because the media put her there, but because she put herself there. She built her own spotlight, period. Or how about Nafisa Collier, just named Defensive Player of the Year, locking folks up night in and night out, or even Kelsey Plum, 2-time champ and straight bucket every season. Where's the wall-to-wall coverage? Where's the push, the viral campaigns, the hype train? Crickets. This is where that book, Make-Believe Media, enters the chat, because it breaks down exactly how media systems are built to center certain racial narratives and suppress others. This ain't no conspiracy, it's a pattern, a long-standing, deeply embedded structure. So let's keep it a buck and break this all the way down. When a white athlete enters a predominantly black sport or space, they're immediately framed as the savior, the chosen one, the game changer. When a black athlete dominates, suddenly they're too much, too emotional, bad for the brand. They become the villain, and not because of their play, but because of what they represent. We are watching it happen in real time. Just look at the way Caitlin Clark is being covered versus how they talk about Asia Wilson, Angel Reese, or even legends like Cheryl Swoops. Caitlin Clark, the next big thing, transcendent, generational talent. Asia Wilson, too physical, too emotional, always complaining. Angel Reese, classless, cocky, disrespectful. Make it make sense, or better yet, let's make it plain. This is the media machine at work, and we're here to tear the cover off of it.
Exactly. And let's talk media contracts and sponsorships too. Caitlin Clark already has endorsements pouring in left and right. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, you name it. Meanwhile, Aja Wilson had to fight for her respect and still doesn't get the same backing, despite being the most dominant player in the league and the face of women's basketball globally. This is why the media is so dangerous. It literally controls how people see these athletes. And let's be real, it's not just about money. It's about erasing black excellence while hyping up mediocrity just because it's more marketable to white America. And that's where the WNBA is dropping the ball hard. Instead of building a league where all players benefit from rising popularity, they've chosen to only push one, while the majority, who happen to be black women, are left out of the spotlight. And the craziest part, this strategy might actually hurt the WNBA in the long run. Because if the league's success is built on only one player instead of the collective, what happens when that one player doesn't live up to the hype?
Facts. Now that's the real question. But guess what? We're not done yet. We got to ask, is this grounds for a lawsuit? Should players take legal action against the WNBA for marketing discrimination? Let's be clear. This ain't just about the W. This media playbook is old, well worn. They've been running the same tire script on black athletes across every sport for decades. This is bigger than basketball. What we're looking at is a pattern. Historical, intentional, and hella systemic. The under-marketing, the disrespect, the erasure is calculated. And if you think we tripping, let's take it all the way back. Let's talk about one of the most disrespectful case studies in sports media history. Serena Williams versus Maria Sharapova. Because, man, this still gets under my skin. Serena freaking Williams, the blueprint, the GOAT, 23 Grand Slam titles, 2 decades of straight dominance, a global icon. But somehow for years, Maria Sharapova, a player Serena dog walked 19 times in a row, was out here pulling in more sponsorship money than Serena. Make that make sense. But we know what it is. Sharapova fit the marketable mold. White, blonde, soft-spoken, the media darling. Meanwhile, they tried to reduce Serena to everything but her greatness. Called her too strong, too masculine, too intimidating. All those dog whistle terms they love to throw at black women when they can't handle the power, the poise, the presence. This is what we mean when we say the system ain't broken. It's working exactly how it was designed. And we're not letting it slide no more.
And if you think that's a one-time thing, let's talk about the NBA in the early 2000s when the league was pushing Yao Ming as the new face of the NBA, despite the fact that Shaq was dominating the league. Shaq was a 3-time finals MVP, back-to-back champion. And yet Yao Ming was getting the global marketing push because he represented a new demographic the NBA wanted to tap into. And this is where we got to bring up the book Brainwash by Tom Burrell, because this is not a coincidence. This is systemic.
Break it down, Lil.
Well, all right. So Brainwash explains how black people, especially black athletes, have been programmed to be seen as inferior in mainstream media, even when they are clearly superior in skills. Marketing and media narratives reinforce racial biases by making black excellence seem ordinary or expected. Meanwhile, white athletes are seen as more marketable because they fit a certain mainstream image. This is why black athletes have to work twice as hard just to get half of the recognition.
So what you're telling me is they've been using the same playbook for decades, just switching up the names?
Bingo. The same Serena and Sharapova and Shaq versus Yao Ming playbook is what we're seeing right now with Caitlin Clark versus Aja Wilson, Angel Reese, and other dominant black players in the WNBA. And it goes beyond sports too. Let's talk about Hollywood and corporate America, because Hollywood does the same thing. How many times do we see black actors or directors breaking records, but it's the safe white actors or filmmakers who get all awards and promo?
Too many times to count. And don't even get me started on corporate America, where black professionals are constantly overlooked for leadership roles, despite carrying entire companies on their backs. And you know what the worst part is? We still fall for the trap. Every time they push this new face of a sport, business, or industry, we get distracted while black excellence gets sidelined. And that's what makes this WNBA situation so frustrating. We know this playbook. We've seen it before. But now the question is, what are we going to do about it?
And that's where we're headed next. Because in the next segment, we're asking, is legal action an option? Can WNBA players and fans take this to court? Stay tuned.
All right, y'all. We talked about the historical pattern of black athletes being sidelined in marketing, but now let's talk about dollars and cents. Because this ain't just about feelings, this is about real money, real opportunities, and real economic suppression.
That part. This is about how the WNBA biased marketing strategy is hurting black players financially, keeping them for secure sponsorships, endorsement deals, and generational wealth.
Listen, let's get straight to the numbers. Before Caitlin Clark even played one professional game, brands were already lining up to throw millions at her. Meanwhile, Asia Wilson, a three-time MVP, two-time Defensive Player of the Year, two-time champion, and face of the damn league, is getting crumbs compared to her. Let's really look at the numbers. Caitlin Clark, before even stepping on the WNBA court, already had $3 million in NIL deals from brands like State Farm, Gatorade, and Nike. A reported $5 million endorsement deal lined up post-draft, and now she's getting 41 of her 44 games broadcast on national TV, while the defending champs and other black stars are getting way less exposure. Meanwhile, Asia Wilson, who has actually accomplished something in the pros, barely gets the same level of push. Where's her $5 million deal? Where's our 41 nationally televised games? And not just Asia, Angel Reese, Arike Agumbawale, and even legends like Candace Parker had to grind for their brand value without the WNBA or the media backing them. And that's where the book Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation comes in. This isn't just about basketball. This is about this is about how systemic structures are designed to suppress black economic power.
Yep, the book breaks it down. How black professionals across all industries are intentionally kept from reaching economic dominance. Media visibility equals money. If you control who gets most exposure, you control who gets the biggest sponsorship and endorsement deal. Black excellence is expected, but not rewarded. Meanwhile, mediocre white talent gets hyped and handed all the opportunities. Ownership matters. Who controls the WNBA? Who controls the media deal? Who decides what's marketable? It ain't black folks. And the WNBA is playing right into that racialized economic suppression because instead of making sure all of its stars eat, they're picking one player to build everything around. And that one player just happens to be white. And let's be clear, Caitlin Clark is talented. That's not the issue. The issue is why black players who have already put in the work aren't getting the same investment.
Period. The WNBA's complicity in this is wild because this ain't new. They know that marketing bias was what kept women's basketball struggling financially. Instead of lifting all boats, they're pushing one face and suppressing everyone else. And it's got real consequences. Because while black players are fighting for every dollar, Caitlin Clark is being gifted generational wealth. So now we gotta ask, is there legal action that can be taken? Could WNBA players actually file a class action lawsuit? We're about to get into that because the economic damages are real and the WNBA needs to be held accountable. Okay, so we talked about the problem. We broken down the numbers, the history, and the WNBA's complicity in suppressing black players economically. Now, what do we do about it? Because let's be real, we can't just keep complaining. We got to start talking about solutions, strategies, and even legal action if necessary. Let's start with the first question. Should the WNBA players demand a more equitable marketing strategy?
They absolutely should. But here's the thing. Players demanding something doesn't mean that the league is going to listen. We saw how the WNBA ignored players in past CBA negotiations, right? And it's why black players need to stop waiting for the league to do right by them. Imagine this, a player-led, black-owned marketing agency specifically for WNBA athletes. Instead of waiting for the WNBA to market them, they control their own branding, endorsement, and media presence. They could leverage social media and player collaborations to make sure black athletes get seen. Partner with black-owned businesses and corporations to create their own sponsorship deals.
That's a power move right there because when you control the marketing, you control the money.
And this ain't far-fetched. Look at what Nafia Carya and Breonna Stewart did with the Unrivaled League. They're tired of the WNBA, of how the WNBA operates, so they're building something for themselves.
That part, the blueprint is already there. Black players just need to take ownership of their image and brand.
Now here's another question. Should fans or athletes boycott WNBA, ESPN, and their sponsors?
Listen, if black players and fans really want to send a message, they got to hit them where it hurts, their pockets.
Right. And let's not forget the WNBA money comes from two main sources: media deals with ESPN, CBS, and Amazon, and corporate sponsorships: Nike, Gatorade, AT&T, and State Farm.
If enough fans start canceling ESPN subscriptions, stop watching games, and calling out sponsors for their bias, it forces them to listen. And don't think this hasn't worked before. Remember when the NBA lost money after the Donald Sterling racism scandal? Sponsors pulled out, and he was forced to sell the Clippers. So imagine if black players and fans said, enough is enough, and started disrupting the WNBA's little favoritism game.
All right, now let's get into another power move, a class action lawsuit. Because if the WNBA is engaging in racial discrimination, that's a legal issue. And there's precedent for lawsuits like this. In 1999, black assistant coaches sued the NFL for discriminatory hiring practice that led to the Rooney Rule. In 2022, Brian Flores sued the NFL for racial discrimination in hiring. And let's not forget the corporate lawsuits: Coca-Cola, Denny's, Abercrombie and Fitch, all lost major racial discrimination cases.
Let's talk facts. If black WNBA players can show that the league is intentionally giving the marketing shine, the bag, and the visibility to one racial group over another, that ain't just foul. That might be disparate treatment under employment law. Could this be a legal case? Absolutely. Under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, employers can't discriminate based on race. Not in hiring, not in pay, not in opportunities. And marketing, that's money. That's brand power. That's generational wealth. If black players can prove that they're being shut out of the same opportunities to grow their brands and lock in endorsement deals, that's a real case. Here's what the legal play might look like. Collect the receipts. Compare media coverage, ad deals, jersey sales, campaign visibility. Put the bias on paper. Find brave voices, players who are willing to step up and say, yeah, this system is built to overlook us. File that complaint with the EEOC or a civil rights lawyer who doesn't flinch when it's time to ruffle feathers. Apply pressure in court. Straight up sue the league for racial discrimination and demand structural change. And let's be clear, this ain't just about chasing the check. A lawsuit like this, it could blow the lid off the entire WNBA marketing machine. Force them to answer for who they center and who they silence. It would spark real public accountability and possibly set a legal precedent for how leagues handle equity moving forward. So what's the move, fam? Do players demand transparency? Start their own marketing collectives? Do fans pull support until we see real change? Or do we take it to court and make them explain it under oath? Either way, the clock is ticking. The system's being watched and the culture is not asleep.
One thing for sure, sitting back and doing nothing is not an option.
All right, let's get into the big question. Should the fans of black WNBA players boycott ESPN, the WNBA, and its corporate sponsors? Because let's be real, money talks, and right now, black players ain't getting their fair share of the marketing dollars. So if the league, the media, and sponsors keep pushing the same biased narratives, should fans hit them where it hurts, in their wallets?
First, let's call out the biggest culprit, ESPN. ESPN control who gets talked to, who gets talked about, and in what way. Look at the imbalance in coverage. One player gets wall-to-wall media attention, while black stars like Aja Wilson and Angel Reese and Arike Umbugwali gets crumbs. They frame black players as villains and white players as golden girls of the sport.
And we've seen this same ESPN playbook before in other sports. Serena Williams versus Maria Sharapova, Shaq versus Yao Ming in NBA marketing, black NFL quarterbacks versus white quarterbacks. They pick their favorites and push a lopsided narrative, no matter who's actually better. Let's talk about corporate sponsors, because these companies are backing the same media biases. The WNBA's biggest sponsors include Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, AT&T, Google. Now look at who they put on billboards and commercials. Who's getting the biggest campaigns? It ain't Aja Wilson. It ain't Arike Umbugwali. Nike backed Sabrina Ionescu before she played a single WNBA game. Caitlin Clark already had State Farm and Gatorade deals. Meanwhile, Aja Wilson, arguably the best player in the league, just got her first national TV ad in year 6 of her career. And let's be clear, the league is choosing to market it a specific image of women's basketball. They're saying this is the face of the WNBA, and if you don't fit that look, you get sidelined. Today we're tackling a topic that has WNBA fans, players, and sports analysts on fire. the league's marketing bias and its impact on black players. Now, let's be clear, this is not about Caitlin Clark's talent. The girl can hoop. But what we're seeing is a deliberate, race-driven marketing agenda by the WNBA, its corporate sponsors, and the media. And it's leaving fans, especially black fans, frustrated, disappointed, and fed up. The question is this just strategic exploitation or is it straight up discrimination? Let's break it down. The WNBA's fan base has historically been diverse. Black women, LGBTQ plus communities, and progressive fans. Yet suddenly, we're seeing the league cater to a new audience, white conservative sports fans. This shift isn't happening in a vacuum. We've seen DEI programs get stripped away in corporate America, and this same white grievance politics has spilled over into sports. The WNBA is following the NFL and NBA's lead, targeting white male sports fans who previously ignored women's basketball. And guess who's the face of this new marketing push? Caitlin Clark. Again, this ain't about her game. She's a baller. But the obsessive media coverage, the oversaturation of TV games, and the exclusion of black WNBA stars isn't just coincidence. It's a calculated move to shift the league's demographic. This situation is a perfect example of how systemic racism, economic interests, and political forces intersect in sports marketing. The WNBA's deliberate focus on Caitlin Clark at the expense of its black stars is not just about her talent. It's about catering to white economic power and political influence at a time where diversity initiatives, DEI, are being stripped away across multiple industries.
And it's no accident that black players like Aja Wilson, who have won championships, Enrique and Nafia Collier, who have put in work and carried the league, are suddenly being pushed aside. It's about appeasing corporate sponsors and TV networks that believe white players are safer and more marketable. So what's happening here? Black players are being locked out of marketing opportunities, yet they are still the backbone of the league. That's economic exploitation. The WNBA is getting all the benefits from black talent while refusing to give them the marketing shine they deserve. And fans see it. Black WNBA fans, LGBTQ plus fans, and longtime supporters are looking around like, why are we forced to endure another season of nonstop coverage of one player while the rest of the league is ignored? It's not just annoying, it's disrespectful to the players who built this league. And let's talk about the racialized fan base that's coming in. The mega style fans, the racists, the misogynists. They're flooding the WNBA with toxic energy, and it's affecting black players. The fans are threatening and harassing black players online, trying to erase the contribution of black stars, making it clear they don't respect black women in the game. And what's worse, the league isn't protecting these black women. Instead, they are feeding into the racial division to profit off the controversy. So we have to ask, at what cost? The WNBA is willing to alienate its original fan base just to chase a white male audience that has never supported them before? That's a risky game.
Yeah, here's the real question. What can fans do? Because let's be real, complaining is not enough. If we want black WNBA players to get their shine, their endorsements, and their respect, we have to take control of the narrative. Here's how we do that. Create our own marketing machine. We can't wait for the WNBA to market black players. We need to look into launching a sports marketing club to spotlight black players, push their highlights, and create our own media coverage. Call out sponsors and networks. Brands like Nike, ESPN, and CBS are making money off black WNBA players, but they're not giving them the same marketing deals. Fans need to put pressure on them, demand equity, and even boycott if necessary. Disrupt social media with a counter narrative. We could push back against media bias by flooding timelines with Aja Wilson's highlights, Angel Reese's interviews, and Nafisa Collier's unrivaled league. If ESPN won't do it, we will. Directly support black players. Buy their jerseys on the player sites. Stream their games. Follow them on social media. And engage with their content to boost their visibility. Bottom line, we have to fight for these players the way the system won't. And if the WNBA wants to continue disrespecting its black stars, then fans might have to consider boycotting the league and its sponsors until real change happens. All right, y'all, we've broken it all the way down today. We talked about the WNBA's marketing bias, the historical pattern of black athletes being undervalued, and whether a boycott could shake the system. But now let's hear from the people.
And trust me, the people have been talking. Let's check out what fans, players, and journalists have been saying about this situation.
First up, here's a tweet from Angel Reese. They said I was too ghetto, too hood, too much, but I'm still breaking records, getting deals, and showing up for my people.
Ooh, let's talk about that one. Because why does a confidence in a black woman equal too much, but confidence in a white player equals swagger and leadership.
That's the double standard we keep seeing. And let's not forget Asia Wilson's tweet from last year. All this talk about growing the game, but the ones who've been carrying it on their backs get left out the conversation. See, exactly. Asia's been dominating, but she's not the WNBA's chosen one in marketing. The disrespect to Asia Wilson is crazy. She's the best player in the league, and they act like she's invincible. I've been a WNBA fan for 10 plus years. The media bias is worse than ever. Tired of ESPN pushing one player like she's the whole league. The WNBA's marketing team needs to be called out. Where's the diversity? These are messages that we need to be sending out. These are the reactions that we need to be pushing out as narratives so that we're heard. This conversation is just getting started, and we want to hear from you. Do you feel like the WNBA is discriminating against its black players? Do you think fans should boycott the league if things don't change? Drop your comments, tag us on social media, and use the hashtag MarketBlackWNBA to keep this movement going. Also, stay tuned because the A Sports Marketing Club is coming, and we're about to shake the table. So here's the real question. If fans boycott ESPN, the WNBA, and its sponsors, would it force them to change?
History says yes. Let's run it back. Boycotts have worked before. Donald Sterling, NBA Clippers owner. Players nearly boycotted a playoff game over his racist comment, and the NBA forced him to sell the team. Colin Kaepernick and the NFL protest. The NFL lost millions in sponsorship money after black fans boycotted games. Mississippi Confederate flag. The NCAA banned championship events in Mississippi until they changed the flag. That state caved in less than a year. When you mess with the money, change happens. And the WNBA ain't rolling in cash like the NBA. They can't afford a major drop in viewership or sponsorship money.
So if fans want to send a message, what's the game plan? Tune out ESPN and WNBA broadcast. If black fans stop watching ESPN's WNBA coverage, their ratings take a hit. Networks hate losing money on ad revenue. Withhold ticket sales and merch purchases. Imagine if fans refuse to buy tickets or jerseys until the WNBA addressed marketing disparities. No ticket sales equals empty arenas, which equals money lost. Challenge sponsors on social media. Start campaigns like WNBA equal marketing to call out Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm. Brands hate bad PR. If enough people make noise, they'll take notice. Demand WNBA players speak out. The players have power, but they need to unite and speak on it. If black WNBA players went on strike, imagine how fast the league would respond. So what y'all think? Is it time for a boycott? Because if we keep supporting the league that won't support black players, we're part of the problem. Listen, today's discussion was heavy, but it needed to be had. Let's recap what we covered. The WNBA's marketing bias and who benefits from it, the economic impact on black players' sponsorships and earnings, the possibility of a boycott, how fans can put pressure on the league and its sponsors, fan and player reactions. The frustration is real, and it's not just in our heads.
Now, here's what you could do next. Advocate. Call out the WNBA's marketing disparities online. Use your voice. Support black players. Buy their merch. Watch their games and engage with their content. Follow the money. Pay attention to who the WNBA promotes and where the sponsorship money is going. Stay informed. Check out these books and break down racial bias in sports and media. Make-believe media. Brainwash. Trojan horse. Death of the dark.
And stay tuned, because this ain't over. If players decide to take legal action or demand better marketing deals, we'll be right here breaking it down. Our conversation today has laid the groundwork for understanding how race, labor, and politics intersect in sports. But this is just the beginning. We're committed to exploring these issues further in future episodes. We'll continue to amplify voices, provide insights, and push for meaningful change. Thank you all for tuning in today and for being part of this critical conversation. Together, we can make a difference. Perhaps it's going to come down to the fans developing a marketing club to create a powerful, sustainable, and independent marketing ecosystem that ensures black women athletes receive the visibility, sponsorship, and support they deserve through strategic digital campaigns, fan engagement, and corporate partnerships. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. Share your insights with us on social media. Leave a comment or send us feedback. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And share this episode with your friends, family, and community. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Amplify the conversation around equity and leadership in sports, and tell us what your takeaways were. And before we sign off, remember, representation matters. Stay tuned for more Cess Talk Sports, BeWise, PoliSports podcast episodes. And last but not least, remember, sports are never just about the game. It's about the stories we tell and the change we create. Together, we can spark important conversations and foster progress toward equity in sports and beyond. Until next time, y'all stay tuned, stay connected, and join us as we navigate the complexities of this issue. Stay tuned. Talk soon. I'm Cess, and that's Political Lil. We out.